The Grand Summit of the Starborn was the most important event in the galaxy. Leaders from every major faction gathered on Velar Prime, a world of golden towers and floating sky palaces. Diplomats, warlords, and powerful rulers from every corner of the cosmos attended, each hoping for the same thing: to win the favor of Princess Vera of the Thalkai Dominion. Vera was no ordinary royal. She was the most desired being in the galaxy. The Thalkai were an advanced species, known for their powerful psychic abilities and vast empire. But Vera was special even among them. Her mind was stronger than any Thalkai before her. Whoever married her would gain not only power but also control over her abilities. So the most powerful beings in the galaxy stood before her, waiting. Warlords with fleets large enough to destroy planets, high lords of ancient civilizations, billionaire tycoons who ruled entire star systems. All of them wanted her hand in marriage. Then she made her choice. "I have chosen," she declared, her voice echoing through the grand hall. The crowd held their breath. Who would she pick? Vera's glowing silver eyes scanned the room, then locked onto someone at the very back. A human. The entire hall fell silent. Standing there, in simple engineer's clothes, was Daniel Carter, a Terran starship mechanic. Unlike the powerful beings around him, Daniel was nothing special. He was no warrior, no noble, no great leader. He was just a man from Earth, working for the United Terran Coalition's repair crew. Every eye in the room turned toward him. Murmurs spread like wildfire. A human. A three-headed diplomat whispered in disbelief. "Is this some kind of joke?" growled a warlord covered in cybernetic armor. Daniel blinked, confused. "Wait, what?" Vera stepped forward, her long silver hair flowing behind her. She gazed at him with an intensity that made his stomach twist. "I have chosen you, Daniel Carter." His mind struggled to process what was happening. He had only come to the summit to fix a malfunctioning gravity stabilizer on one of the Terran delegate ships. Now, the most powerful woman in the galaxy was saying she had chosen him over countless rulers and warriors. A towering alien noble stepped forward, his golden robes shimmering. High Lord Arvik of the Zirian Empire, a being whose family had ruled for 10,000 years. His four eyes narrowed at Daniel. "This is absurd," Arvik said coldly. "You must reconsider, Princess. A human is beneath you." Others nodded in agreement. Humans were still new to the galactic stage. They had only joined the interstellar community 100 years ago. Compared to ancient species that had ruled for millennia, humanity was weak, unproven, and insignificant. But Vera's expression did not change. "No, my decision is final." Daniel swallowed hard. His brain screamed what is happening. A massive alien, standing nearly 10 feet tall, let out a low growl. It was General Krass of the Vrogan Dominion, a warlord with more confirmed battle victories than any living being. His armored tail slammed into the ground. "Tell us, human," Krass snarled. "What makes you worthy of her?" Daniel almost laughed. He wasn't worthy. He was just a guy who fixed ships and drank too much coffee. He had no armies, no powerful mind, no grand destiny. But before he could speak, Vera answered for him. "Because unlike all of you," she said, her voice calm but firm, "his mind is a mystery to me." The room went still. The Thalkai were the greatest telepaths in the universe. They could read thoughts, see through lies, and control weaker minds. But Vera's gift was even stronger. She could see the future of those around her. Every suitor here, she had already seen what they would become. Predictable. Expected. But Daniel, when I look at him, she continued, I see nothing. A ripple of shock spread through the hall. The most powerful telepath in the galaxy had no vision of a simple human. Impossible. Vera turned back to Daniel. "You are an enigma to me, Daniel Carter. A mystery in a universe where I thought there were none left." Daniel scratched the back of his head. "Thanks. I guess." The hall exploded in protests. Warlords shouted. Diplomats argued. Some called it an insult to tradition. Others called it a mistake. The Thalkay advisors begged Xivera to reconsider, but she simply stood there, calm, unwavering. Her choice was made. Daniel barely had time to process the chaos before an armed escort rushed to his side. One of Xivera's royal guards leaned in. "You must come with us. Now." "Wait, hold on," Daniel said, raising his hands. "I think there's been some mistake. I'm just a loud explosion shook the palace. The massive windows shattered as a black-clad assassin leaped into the room, aiming a plasma rifle directly at Daniel. Everything slowed. Daniel had just become the most hunted man in the galaxy. The palace shook as the explosion sent a shockwave through the grand hall. Glass shattered, golden pillars cracked, and the entire crowd of powerful rulers and warriors scattered in chaos. Daniel barely had time to react before a black-clad assassin leaped through the broken window, their plasma rifle aimed straight at his head. A bright energy blast tore through the air. But before it could hit him, a shimmering force field flared to life around him. The plasma bolt bounced off harmlessly. Xivera stood in front of him, her silver eyes glowing as she raised a hand. A second assassin lunged from the side, but with a simple wave of her fingers, the attacker froze in midair, trapped in an invisible psychic grip. Daniel's heart pounded. What is happening? The royal guards rushed forward, their energy blades flashing as they engaged the remaining assassins. The crowd was still in shock, and for the first time, Daniel saw the truth. Many of these so-called powerful leaders were afraid. They had status, wealth, and influence, but none of them were fighters. Unlike them, Xivera stood calm and fearless. "Get him out of here," she commanded. Before Daniel could argue, two guards grabbed him by the arms and dragged him toward the exit. He stumbled, barely keeping up as they moved through the maze-like palace corridors. "I don't understand," he shouted. "Why are they attacking me? I didn't do anything." One of the guards, a tall reptilian alien, turned his head slightly. "You are the most hated man in the galaxy right now, human." "Great," Daniel muttered. "That makes me feel so much better." They reached a docking bay, where a sleek Thalkay royal starship waited. Its blue energy thrusters hummed softly, ready to take off. The guards pushed Daniel up the ramp and into the ship's luxurious interior. The moment he stepped inside, the doors sealed behind him. A few seconds later, Xivera entered as well. She walked past him without a word and sat in a floating chair near the main control panel. The ship lifted off smoothly, and the golden spires of Velar Prime vanished beneath them. For a long moment, there was silence. Daniel crossed his arms. "Okay. Can someone please explain to me why everyone suddenly wants me dead?" Xivera tilted her head. "Because I chose you." Daniel exhaled sharply. "Right. But why did you choose me in the first place?" She studied him carefully, her silver eyes searching his face. "Because you are different." Daniel let out a short laugh. "Yeah, I think we already established that. But different how?" Xivera leaned forward. "Every being I have ever met has a presence in my mind. I can sense their thoughts, their emotions, their possible futures. Even those who try to hide their thoughts cannot escape my abilities." She pointed at him. "But you are a void." Daniel blinked. "At what?" "A blank space in my vision. When I try to see into your future, I see nothing." He frowned. "Maybe I just have a really boring life." She shook her head. "No, even the simplest life has a path. But yours? It is a mystery, even to me." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. He had always thought of himself as average, a guy who fixed ships, cracked bad jokes, and never got into trouble. But now, the most powerful telepath in the galaxy was telling him he was some kind of anomaly. "Look," he said, rubbing his temples. "I don't know why I'm different, but I do know one thing. If I stay with you, I'm going to get killed." Sivera's expression darkened. Yes, that is likely. Daniel groaned. Not exactly comforting, Princess. She gave him a small smile. Do not worry. I will protect you. Great, he muttered. That makes me feel so much safer. Before Sci-Fi could respond, the ship's warning alarms blared. A holographic display flickered to life, showing 3 enemy ships in pursuit. They were fast, sleek, and armed with enough firepower to turn their vessel into scrap. Daniel felt a pit form in his stomach. I'm no expert, but I think we have a problem. Sci-Fi didn't look worried. She placed her hand on a control panel, and the ship's navigation systems activated. A hyperspace jump was being prepared. The enemy ships opened fire. Bright red laser blasts streaked toward them. At the last possible second, their ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving the enemy behind. The tension in the room finally eased. Daniel let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Okay, that was terrifying. Sci-Fi turned to him. You should get used to it. He frowned. What do you mean? She gazed at him with a serious expression. This is only the beginning. The warlords, the high lords, the rulers of the galaxy, they will not accept my choice. They will come for you. Daniel swallowed hard. Fantastic. Just what I needed. She leaned closer. But do not be afraid. You are not weak, Daniel Carter. You are human. And humans are full of surprises. For the first time since this nightmare started, Daniel saw something in her eyes. Not just curiosity, but belief. She truly thought he was special. And for some reason, that scared him even more than the assassins. The stars outside the ship's window stretched into bright lines as they moved through hyperspace. Inside the Royal Starship, Daniel Carter sat in the co-pilot's seat, still trying to process the madness of the last few hours. I don't get it, he muttered, shaking his head. Why would the most powerful people in the galaxy send assassins after me? I'm just an engineer. Yuera, sitting across from him, regarded him with her usual calm expression. You are no longer just anything, Daniel Carter. You are my chosen. Right, Daniel sighed. Still don't know why, but okay. The ship's control panel beeped softly. As Sci-Fi glanced at the holographic display. We are approaching a safe zone, a hidden station under Thalkai control. We will be safe there. Daniel nodded. That's good. I could really use a break from almost dying. But deep down, he wasn't so sure about safe. The station was hidden inside a dense nebula, its metallic surface reflecting the swirling blue gases outside. As their ship landed in one of the docking bays, Daniel exhaled in relief. Finally, a chance to catch his breath. Sci-Fi's royal guards greeted them at the entrance. The leader, a tall, armored Thalkai with piercing violet eyes, bowed to Sci-Fi. Princess, we have secured the station. No threats detected. Daniel rubbed his face. Great. No more assassins. No more space battles. I just want a quiet meal, and maybe a nap. Sci-Fi gave him a small smile. I will arrange for food. For the first time since this craziness began, Daniel felt a little hopeful. Maybe this nightmare would calm down. He was wrong. The attack. Daniel was sitting in his assigned quarters, eating a plate of surprisingly good alien food, when the lights suddenly flickered. The moment the room darkened, his instincts screamed at him. Something was wrong. He stood up slowly, his heart pounding. The station was supposed to be secure. But then, why did it feel like someone was watching him? A soft metallic click came from the corner of the room. Daniel spun around just in time. A shadowy figure lunged at him, a dagger glowing with blue energy aimed straight for his chest. Daniel barely managed to dodge to the side, the blade slicing through the air where he had been standing a second ago. He stumbled back, knocking over his food tray. His attacker moved fast, too fast. Daniel had no weapon, no combat training. He was just an engineer. The assassin slashed again, pure instinct took over. Daniel grabbed a metal chair and swung it as hard as he could. Crash! The assassin staggered as the chair hit them square in the chest. It wasn't much, but it gave Daniel just enough time to run. He sprinted out of the room, racing down the hallway. Scifi, we have a problem. The alarm systems suddenly blared through the station. Scifi's voice echoed through the comms. We are under attack. All units, defend the station. Daniel's stomach twisted. They weren't just after him this time. They were after Scifi too. Daniel sighed and rubbed his face. You know, I left Earth because I thought life in space would be exciting. Turns out, I wasn't wrong. Just not in the way I wanted. Scifi sat across from him, her silver eyes studying him as if she were seeing something he couldn't. Earth is more important than you realize. Its history is unique. Daniel frowned. Okay, I get that it's my home, but what does Earth have to do with all this? Scifi hesitated. Have you ever wondered why humans are the only ones in the galaxy without a true empire? Without a seat among the great powers? Daniel shrugged. I figured it's because we're not as advanced as the other species. She shook her head. No, it is because someone has kept you that way. A chill ran down Daniel's spine. What do you mean? Scifi leaned forward. Humans are different, Daniel. Your species should have conquered the stars long ago. But something, or someone, has ensured that Earth remains isolated. Daniel stared at her. That doesn't make any sense. Scifi's eyes darkened. And yet, it is the truth. Before Daniel could ask more, the control panel beeped. Scifi turned toward the navigation screen. We are approaching Earth. Daniel took a deep breath. Whatever was waiting for him down there, he was about to find out. Arrival on Earth. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, cutting through clouds as the familiar blue and green planet stretched below them. For the first time in years, Daniel saw his home. The vast oceans, sprawling cities, and endless skies. It was all so familiar, yet it felt like he was looking at it through new eyes. Scifi guided the ship toward a remote desert in North America. There were no cities nearby, no human settlements, just sand, rock, and a few scattered mountains. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Oh, this doesn't look like the best landing spot. Scifi didn't answer. The ship hovered above the ground, and with a smooth motion, it landed on the desert floor. Daniel unbuckled his seatbelt. Okay, mind telling me why we're landing in the middle of nowhere? Scifi stood up. Because this is where it begins. The hidden facility. The ship's ramp lowered, and the dry desert wind hit Daniel's face. He squinted against the sunlight, stepping onto the sand. There was nothing, just miles of open land. Daniel turned to Scifi. All right, I don't see anything special here. Scifi raised her hand. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, and suddenly, the ground trembled. Daniel's heart skipped a beat as the sand beneath them shifted. A massive metal hatch appeared, buried beneath the surface. What the? Daniel took a step back. The hatch opened with a deep rumbling sound, revealing a dark passage leading underground. Scifi turned to him. Come. The answers you seek are below. Daniel exhaled. Of course they are. With his heart pounding, he followed her into the unknown. The truth beneath the sand. The underground facility was massive, a labyrinth of metal corridors, ancient machinery, and glowing energy conduits running along the walls. Daniel's footsteps echoed as he walked beside Scifi. This place, it's old, really old. Scifi nodded. Thousands of years old, built before any human civilization recorded history. Daniel's eyes widened. Wait, are you saying humans didn't build this? Scifi stopped in front of a massive circular door. No, but it was built for humans. The door hissed open, revealing a large chamber. Inside, floating in the air, was a holographic projection of Earth. Around it were thousands of glowing symbols and data streams. Daniel stepped forward, staring at the display. What? What is this? Vera approached a control panel. This is the last record of the ones who came before. Daniel turned to her. The ones who came before. Vera's expression was serious. A lost civilization. A species that walked this planet before modern humans. Daniel felt a chill. You mean aliens? She shook her head. No. They were human. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. That's impossible. Vera gestured toward the holographic display. Your history books do not tell you everything. Thousands of years ago, before your current civilization, there was another. One that reached the stars. One that was powerful beyond imagination. Daniel swallowed hard. Then, what happened to them? Vera's voice was quiet. They were erased. Daniel's mind reeled. By who? Vera looked him in the eye. By the same ones who now hunt you. A dangerous revelation. Daniel took a step back. Are you telling me that my ancestors had a space empire, and someone just wiped it out? Vera nodded. And they ensured that humanity would never rise again. Daniel felt his hands clench into fists. Why? Why go through all that trouble? Vera's voice was steady. Because humans are dangerous, Daniel Carter. Daniel scoffed. Yeah, sure. We're not exactly known for being peaceful, but compared to some of the alien warlords I've seen, we're nothing special. Vera shook her head. No, it is not your violence that they fear. It is your potential. Daniel's breath caught. What does that mean? Vera turned back to the holographic projection. It means that you, all humans, are capable of something no other species in the galaxy can do. Daniel felt his heart pounding. And what exactly is that? Vera turned to face him. To change everything. Silence filled the chamber as Daniel processed her words. He had spent his life thinking he was ordinary. Just an engineer. Just another human. But now, standing in this ancient facility, staring at secrets buried for thousands of years, he realized his entire existence was part of something much bigger. And someone out there did not want him to find out the truth. Daniel Carter stood frozen in the underground chamber, his mind racing. The glowing hologram of Earth floated before him, surrounded by thousands of mysterious symbols, records of a lost past, a past where humans had once ruled the stars. And then they were erased. Vera's silver eyes studied him carefully. I know this is difficult to believe, but it is the truth. Your ancestors were once powerful. The galaxy feared them. And so, they were destroyed. Daniel shook his head. But why? What makes humans so special? Vera's gaze didn't waver. Because humans are different from every other species in the universe. Daniel crossed his arms. Yeah, you keep saying that. But how? What exactly can we do that scares them so much? Vera hesitated for a moment, then walked toward the central console. She placed her hand on the ancient device, and the hologram shifted. It now displayed a massive war, ships colliding in deep space, entire planets burning under powerful weapons. Then, a figure appeared, a human. Not an alien, not some unknown species. A human warrior, leading armies, standing tall among destruction. Vera turned to Daniel. Your kind is not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Wow, thanks for the compliment. Vera continued, ignoring his sarcasm. But humans have something that no other species has, the ability to adapt beyond limits. Daniel frowned. Adapt? You mean like evolution? Vera shook her head. No, I mean something far greater. Humans do not just survive. They change. They break the rules of nature itself. Other species follow patterns, predictable progressions. But humans, she gestured at the hologram. You create the impossible. You take what should be beyond your reach and make it your own. Daniel let out a slow breath. So what? We're just good at thinking outside the box. Shivera's expression grew serious. You are good at breaking the box. The enemy approaches. Before Daniel could respond, the chamber's lights flickered. A loud alarm echoed through the underground facility. Shivera's eyes widened. No, they found us. Daniel's stomach dropped. Who? The assassins. Shivera quickly accessed the console. The hologram changed, showing the surface above them. Daniel's heart pounded as he saw what was coming. A fleet of black ships had descended from orbit, hovering above the desert. Troops in dark armor marched toward the facility entrance, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. They're here to finish what they started, Shivera said grimly. Daniel clenched his fists. We need to get out of here. Shivera's hands moved swiftly over the controls. No, we need to fight. Daniel blinked. Fight. Against that. There are at least 100 of them. Shivera turned to him. Do you trust me? Daniel hesitated. Then he nodded. Yeah, I do. Shivera stepped closer. Then listen carefully. This facility was built for humans. And that means it was built for you. Before Daniel could ask what she meant, Shivera pressed a glowing symbol on the console. The entire room shook. Suddenly, the symbols around the chamber lit up. The walls glowed with energy. The air hummed with power. And then, Daniel felt something surge through him. A pulse of energy rushed into his mind, his body, his very soul. His vision blurred, his skin tingled, and for a brief moment, he saw everything. The past, the future, the battle above, the enemies coming for them. And then, he understood. The power within. Daniel stumbled back, his breathing heavy. His body felt different, stronger, sharper, more alive than ever before. Shivera watched him carefully. It has begun. Daniel looked down at his hands. They were glowing faintly, as if the energy of the facility had awakened something inside him. What? What did you do to me? He whispered. Shivera smiled. I did nothing. This place simply unlocked what was already inside you. Daniel's mind raced. He could feel knowledge flooding into him, the lost history of his people, their technology, their battles, their rise and fall. And more than that, he felt their power. I can feel it, he said, his voice shaking. I know how to fight. I know how to use weapons I've never seen before. I know how to. He stopped, stunned. Shivera nodded. Yes, that is the legacy of your ancestors. Their knowledge was never truly lost. It was simply waiting for the right moment to awaken. Daniel clenched his fists. And now, it's awake. The final stand. A loud explosion shook the underground chamber. The enemy had breached the entrance. Shivera turned to him. Are you ready? Daniel took a deep breath. The old him would have been terrified. But now, he wasn't just Daniel Carter. He was something more. He met Shivera's gaze. Let's finish this. Shivera smirked. That's what I was hoping you'd say. The chamber's walls opened, revealing racks of weapons, armor, and advanced technology left behind by his ancestors. Daniel stepped forward, grabbing a sleek energy rifle. The moment his fingers touched it, the weapon responded to him, as if it recognized him. Shivera picked up a blade, its silver edge glowing. We fight together. Daniel smirked. Let's give them a reason to fear humans again. With a final deep breath, they charged toward the battle. The galaxy thought humanity was finished. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The underground chamber trembled as explosions echoed from above. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the sound of heavy boots marching toward them grew louder. Daniel Carter tightened his grip on the energy rifle in his hands. He could feel the power within him, the knowledge of his ancestors, their skills, their instincts. It was as if their memories had become part of him. Beside him, Shivera's silver eyes glowed faintly. She held her energy blade, ready for battle. They are almost here. Daniel took a deep breath. Fear had no place in him anymore. He wasn't just a simple engineer, lost in the stars. He was something more. With a smirk, he looked at Tyvera. Then let's give them a proper welcome. She returned his smirk. Agreed. The battle begins. The door to the chamber exploded, sending shards of metal flying. Soldiers in dark armor stormed in, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Daniel moved before he could think. He raised his rifle, and in a single smooth motion, fired 3 precise shots. Each blast struck its target, dropping 3 enemies in an instant. HFY Vera leaped forward, her energy blade cutting through the air with deadly precision. She twisted, dodged, and struck, moving like a shadow. The enemy soldiers barely had time to react. They had expected an easy fight. They were wrong. Daniel ducked behind cover, reloading his rifle with practiced speed. His body moved like he had trained for years, except he never had. It was the knowledge of his ancestors guiding him. Another wave of soldiers entered the chamber. One aimed at HFY Vera, but before he could fire, Daniel was already moving. He rushed forward, grabbed the soldier's wrist, twisted it, and disarmed him in seconds. Then, with a swift motion, he knocked him unconscious. HFY Vera glanced at him and smirked. Not bad. Daniel grinned. I learned fast. But there was no time to celebrate. More enemies were coming. A desperate escape. HFY Vera pointed to the far side of the chamber. We can't fight forever. We need to reach the surface. Daniel nodded. How? HFY Vera activated a control panel. The walls shifted, revealing a hidden passage. This leads to an escape route. If we reach the desert, I can call for help. Daniel reloaded his rifle. Then let's move. They ran through the passage, the sound of enemy forces chasing them from behind. The corridor led them to a large vertical tunnel. At the top, sunlight peeked through an opening. Daniel looked up. How do we get up there? HFY Vera activated another control panel. Hold on. A powerful energy field surged upward, forming an anti-gravity lift. Daniel raised an eyebrow. That's convenient. HFY Vera smirked. We should hurry. Without hesitation, they stepped into the energy lift and shot upward, propelled toward the surface. The final stand. As they emerged from the underground facility, the desert sun blinded Daniel for a moment. But he didn't have time to adjust, because waiting for them was an entire army. Hundreds of enemy soldiers surrounded the facility. Black warships hovered above, their cannons aimed directly at him and HFY Vera. Daniel's stomach tightened. This doesn't look good. HFY Vera gritted her teeth. They really don't want you to survive. A loudspeaker crackled. A cold, robotic voice spoke. Daniel Carter. Surrender now. The knowledge you possess is dangerous. Daniel clenched his fists. Dangerous. They had spent centuries erasing humanity's history, keeping his people weak. But now he knew the truth. And he wasn't going to run. He turned to HFY Vera. Can you call for backup? She tapped a device on her wrist. Already did, but they won't arrive in time. Daniel exhaled. Then we hold the line. HFY Vera gave him a proud smile, spoken like a true warrior. The enemy forces raised their weapons. Daniel raised his rifle. The battlefield was silent for a moment. Then, everything erupted into chaos. The turning point. Daniel and HFY Vera fought side by side, dancing between blasts of energy, taking down enemy soldiers one by one. But they were outnumbered. Daniel's arms ached. His breath came in sharp gasps. The enemy kept coming. Then, a loud roar filled the sky. Daniel looked up, and his heart soared. A fleet of ships descended from the clouds, their metallic hulls shining under the sun. But they weren't enemy ships. They were human ships. The Terran resistance. HFY Vera grinned. They made it. The enemy forces hesitated as the Terran ships opened fire. Explosions rocked the desert as reinforcements rained down from the sky. Daniel felt a surge of hope. For the first time in centuries, humans were fighting back. And this time, they wouldn't lose. A new future. As the enemy forces retreated, Daniel stood among the wreckage, his body exhausted, but his heart burning with determination. Kazivera stepped beside him. "It's over." Daniel shook his head. "No, it's just beginning." He turned toward the horizon, where the Terran resistance was gathering. Humanity had been kept in the shadows for too long. But now, they knew the truth. And nothing in the galaxy would stop them from rising again. Humanity was back. And this time, they would take their place among the stars.